Your source for news from Cine Gear 2019. Indie Shooter. Brought to you by 16:9. Band Pro Film and Digital. Otherworld Computing. Panasonic. Sigma. And Carl Zeiss.
Hi, Clint with Indie Shooter, continuing our coverage of Cine Gear 2019, and I'm here with Michael at FUJIFILM. And
it is our GFX 102 megapixel, 55 millimeter large format, medium format, camera with 5.5 stops of image stabilization on the sensor. It is a true 16-bit sensor. And it does very, very good 4K video. It does DCI and UHD in 10-bit. It's the first medium format camera with a stabilized sensor that does 10-bit video. But in terms of cinema, the sensor is between what are the full frame cameras out there, like the Venice and the Arri LF, and say the Arri 65. Okay, so it's in between that. So it's a very large. It's a 55 millimeter diagonal. It's a 4x3 sensor. And the image circle, when you shoot DCI 4K on this, it's just a hair under 50 millimeters on the diagonal. It's big, big.
So let's talk about that for a second. The sensor itself, does that equate to low light capabilities?
So the bigger the sensor, the more real estate you have. That means you can do two things. You can either pack more pixels into it, or you can make the pixels bigger. So this is double the resolution of what our 50 megapixel cameras are. And so far what I've seen is ISOs 3200, 6400 has been really, really good. And this is still pre-production firmware. Dynamic range on this is 14 stops because It's a true 16-bit sensor. So it's 14 stops. That's the raw file dynamic range.
Now, one of the things I was looking at was the image stabilization on this is like really unique. Tell us a little bit about it.
This technology was borrowed from the XH1 camera we came out with not quite 2 years ago, which is an APS-C size. So it's 5-axis, and the actual amount of stabilization is somewhere between 5 to 5.5 stops, depending on which lens you have on there. But you don't have to have a Fujifilm lens on there. So the stabilization is on the sensor itself. So if you put a third-party adapter on here and put some old legacy medium format camera, you have 5 stops of stabilization. If you put a cinema lens on here, you're going to have 5 stops of stabilization.
And how much real estate does that take up to make sure that the image is stabilized? I mean, it's not much, I wouldn't think, right?
What do you mean? Real estate?
Well, typically when you do an image stabilized, it pulls in a little bit or punches in just a little bit to be able to have that space.
I don't actually know if we do that or not.
Really?
As far as, we don't get any vignetting, we don't get any cropping, so it doesn't hurt the picture in any way, it doesn't diminish the image circle in any way.
Now, for people that are shooting video, let's talk a little bit about the video capabilities of it just inside the camera.
So you can do 4K, either in UHD 16:9 or DCI Cinema 4K 17:9, and that's 4096 pixels across, and it is 10-bit, H.265 or H.264, and you can either do GOP compression or all intra. The internal data rate is 400 megabit per second. It's 10-bit, 400 megabit per second, all intra. And then there's HDMI out, which is 10-bit 422, 100% clean, uncompressed. Now the frame rates are 2398 up to 29997, so it only goes up to 30p.
What are the files that we're getting? Are they H.264 or H.265 files, or?
They're either or. We have both codecs, 264 or 265. They're .mov wraps. Yeah.
And do you have some sort of you guys have your own log codec, right?
Yes, you can do Fuji log, which is very, very gradable. It's beautiful. Yeah. I'm sorry. It also will do hybrid log gamma for HDR.
Oh, excellent, excellent. But if you wanted to use a recorder that goes from the sensor like an Atomos, it has those capabilities as well. It's clean out, right?
It's a clean 10-bit 422 out. The engineers have not yet decided if they're going to implement RAW or not. They're working on it. It would be a simple matter of just a firmware update, but it is something we are looking into.
Would it be like a ProRes RAW or?
again, that's what's under discussion right now, is what flavor of video raw it would be.
Oh, excellent. Now, let's talk about some other things. Just the nuts and bolts of the camera. It's got EVF and also a fold-out monitor, right?
Yeah, so this borrowed from the 50S that we had, came out about a year ago. The EVF is removable. There is a tilt adapter you can put on here so you can go straight up. Or, you know, probably won't be using that if you're shooting video. So the LCD is up and down, and it also comes out sideways.
Oh, nice.
So that's nice if you want to shoot from the side, but for still photography, it's very useful for overhead verticals and low underhand verticals. And then the ergonomics on this is shutter speed is the back wheel. F-stop is on the ring, is on the lens. ISO is the front wheel. It's very simple. And we have a backlit panel here. Mm-hmm. And you can customize the info that's on here. We also have an info panel on the back, which you can see is currently showing a histogram. This could be image data, information, or histogram.
Oh, nice.
And we have this very cool thing. So we pioneered the retro look with our other cameras with knobs and wheels, old school film style. To replicate that, we actually have a wheel view, so you can see the shutter speed wheels and the ISO and f-stop in this way as well.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Now, if I don't have Fuji lenses, I can get adapters for any glass, right?
Yeah. So this lens mount, the GF lens mount that we have, is goes back to the other cameras. Those adapters have been out now for a long time. They run like $150, $200. There's basically adapters for any kind of legacy lens you can think of. In terms of PL, there's also PL adapters already out here for this.
Oh, nice. Who makes those? Do you know? Or
right now from Alpa, I believe Keepon is working on it. Photo Deox is probably working on them as well.
Oh, nice, nice. So, what media does it? Is it SD cards it's taking?
Yeah, it will run on any dumb flavor of SD card. However, there's dual slots. However, with the file size on this thing, it's over 200 megabyte raw file. You really should use the UHS-2s. So both card slots are UHS-2 compatible, and that's what you should get if you're going to be getting this camera.
Excellent, and that will cover us for the 4K video.
Yeah. So the 4K video, 4K video only goes up to 30p, so it's more than fast enough. At V30, you don't really need a V60 spec card, but the V30s would be recommended.
So is your battery system, is it the same as your other cameras? Or?
Correct. No change to the batteries, but the new battery tray holds 2 batteries at once, and that's built into the camera. You can run external power if you want, from 9 volts to 15 volts. So, yeah.
Oh, so we can power. Oh, so it's got an external input. Nice. Michael, what are we talking about as far as like price is concerned?
$99.99. It's $9,999, and again, it will come out June 27th.
Will dealers start getting those in for like demo models and things like that?
I don't know when the dealers will start getting their demos. I know the pre-orders are piling up fast from what we've heard from dealers. And
excellent. Michael, if people want to find out more about this camera, they can go to your Fujifilm website, yes?
Yep, Fujifilm.com or FujifilmUSA.com. It's all there.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Michael.
Yep.
Your source for news from Cine Gear 2019. Indie Shooter. Brought to you by 16:9. Band Pro Film and Digital. Otherworld Computing. Panasonic. Sigma. And Carl Zeiss.